so we have these two, same thing, still isosceles. So that means these two are equal to each other. That was a horrible, horrible arrow. So those are equal to each other, so this is going to be 32x minus 48 equals 8x plus 24. Okay, so they're equal to each other. Part equals part. So you just solve for x. So I'm going to use the end solve method because I think that's how most people know how to do it. And so that's going to be, let's say, 32 minus 48 equals 8x plus 24, comma x, enter. So we get 3. So x is equal to 3. And, my bad. Now we're going to have to plug it in to figure out the other two. Let's see. So we have 3 times 32 minus 48. So we have to plug in the 3 for x. So 3 times 32 minus 48 is 48 degrees. And then 8 times 3 plus 24 is 48 degrees. And it is no coincidence that these two are equal because, you know, this is an isosceles triangle. So R is 48 degrees. P is 48 degrees. How do we figure out that top angle? Well, don't forget, they all have to add up to 180. So you can add those two together and then subtract it from 180. I think I'm gonna do it all together, so I don't have to use my calculator twice. So I'm gonna do 180 minus, and then I have to put those other two in parentheses. And we get 84 degrees. Okay, and that is that. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next. All right, so this time we need to find x, and as you can see, this is an equilateral triangle because all 3 sides are equal. So right away, 60, 60, and 60, before I even get into it. So, just like we did for the other problem, if you already know what the angles are equal to, that can be your equation. You could be like, oh, 2x minus 12 equals 60, and then just solve for x that way. If you can't remember that, you're going to have to do like we did the other one to make it longer. You have to be like, oh, well, that's 2x minus 12. That's 2x minus 12 because they're all equal. And then you're going to have 2x minus 12 plus 2x minus 12 plus 2x minus 12 equals 180. And you're going to, so either way, you'll get it right. But one is obviously much easier than the other one. So I'm going to go with the easier one just because I think it makes more sense, especially with equilateral. That one's easy to remember. And then you're going to solve for x. And that equaled what, 60, comma x, and that would be 36. So x equals 36. And this is obviously equilateral. And it said sides and angles. So the sides means equilateral. And then if we label it by its angles, that would be equiangular. Okay, oops, and I forgot to do that for the previous one. I am so sorry. So for number 4, this is isosceles because of its sides, but because of its angles, it is acute because none of the angles were greater than 90 degrees. I'm so sorry, I forgot to do that. All right, number 7, we have find the measure of angle 1 if, okay, so let me label this real quick. So angle 1 is 4x plus 10. Okay, this is an interesting one. All right, let's get it. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do is solve for x by using these 2 angles at the bottom here because they make a linear pair, so I can just add them up to equal 180. If you have a better idea, then feel free to use it. So 3x minus 10 plus 8x minus 30 equals 180 because they make a straight line. Some of you might try to make them equal each other, but that doesn't make any sense. This one's clearly obtuse, and then the one over here is clearly acute. Don't forget, if one is obtuse and one is acute, you add them up to equal 180. Okay, so now we need to solve for x. I'm going to use nsolve yet again. All right, it was 3x something. 3x minus 10, 8x minus 30. It's minus 10, 8x minus 30 equals 180, comma, x. And we get 20 for the value of x. All right, so x equals 20. And I'm actually going to move this over here. Okay, so x equals 20. So since I know that, let me figure out these angle measurements. All right, so 8x, so 8 times 20 minus 30. I'm trying to figure out how much the exterior angle is going to be. That's going to be 130 degrees. So the inside angle should be 50 degrees, but let me double check to make sure I got the right thing. So I plug in a 20 minus 10, that's 50. Okay, good. So I got 50, which makes sense because they have to add up to 180. So we did good. And I'm going to plug it in up here for that 4x plus 10. So 4 times 20 plus 10 is 90. So that's 90 degrees up there. Okay. So that means, I'll put that right there. So that's 90 degrees. Okay, so now we have to find the measure of angle 2. So we did this. Now we have to find the measure of angle 2. So you can add together the 90 and the 50. I'm just giving you an option. There are different options. And then subtract it from 180. That's one option. Okay, and that'll give you 40. Or you can use the exterior angle theorem and say, oh, well, these two have to add up to 130. So since I'm missing one, let me just do 130 minus 90. So 130 minus 90. And you still get 40 degrees. Okay. You can use the corollary that we saw earlier and say, oh, this is obviously a 90 degree, a right angle, because that's 90 degrees, so that's my 90. So that means this angle and this angle have to add up to 90, you know, which means if I take 50 away from 90, that still gives me 4. So again, you have options. If I'm overwhelming you, I'm sorry, but I do just want you to know that you have options. Okay? Whichever one you pick, just make sure it works. Okay. Almost done, y'all. Number 8, use properties of parallel lines and transversals to find all numbered angles. Let's do it. So we have a parallel line here. Sorry, I thought that was going to be better. Oh, come on. You're not going to let me straighten it out? There we go. And then we got a parallel line over here. And then we have a transversal right there. So I'm going to actually do a little bit better and use this because it's a little bit wider. Okay, so I don't know if you guys remember, but let me switch colors here. We have this 72 degrees here, and then we have this angle 3 up here. They are opposite, alternating interior angles, excuse me. So angle 3 is also going to be 72 degrees. So the measure of angle 3 is, I'm going to put it over here because it might be hard to see over there. Okay. We also see that angles 1 and 2 are vertical angles, so they're congruent, so they're going to be equal to each other. And another thing, let me use a different color here. We have this angle in this corner and this angle in this corner. So this is another set of parallel lines and a transversal. So those are also congruent. They're also alternate interior angles. So that's going to be 8x plus 26 equals 12x minus 2. And then just solve for x. So you can use nsolve. You can solve it by hand, whatever floats your boat, whatever tickles your fancy. All right, what was it? 8x, 8x plus 26. 26 equals 12x something minus 2, okay. Comma x. And that would be 7, so x equals 7. Okay, so when you plug that back in, I'm gonna get rid of this blue stuff. All right, so when you, okay, plug it back in, we have 8x, so 8 times 7 plus 26. So 8 times 7 plus 26 is 82 degrees. And then 12 times 7 minus 2, that's also 82 degrees. So I just plugged in that 7 for x for both of those. And those are both 82 degrees. Okay, so at this point you can use the triangle sum theorem, you can use exterior angle theorem if you really wanted to. So I'm just going to add up, just debating, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and add up the 72 and the 82 and take it away from 180 to figure out angle 2. So I'm trying to figure out angle 2, which will be the same as angle 1, of course. Okay, so let's see, let me use this gray color. So we have 72 plus 82, add those up and take it away from 180, and then that'll give us the answer. And that'll be 26 degrees. So angles 2 and angle 1 both should be 26 degrees. And I'm gonna double check my answer by adding all the angles in one of the triangles to make sure it equals 180. So you wanna add up these 3 angles to make sure they equal 180. And they do. Alrighty. Use properties of parallel lines and transversals to find all the numbered angles. So I see 2 parallel lines here, and then there's a transversal over here. That's one of the transversals, so we'll start there because it has some numbers on it and I can actually use it. Okay, so first thing I see, well, that's not helpful, is that the 4x plus 10 and the 5x minus 2 are corresponding angles. So they're both, where's my blue? They're both in the same spot. So they are corresponding angles, which means they are congruent. So let's go ahead and solve for that. 4, 10, 5, negative 2. 4, 10, 5, negative 2. 4, 10, 5, minus 2, comma, x. Hope I did that right. And that was 12. Yeah. So x equals 12. So I'm going to plug that back in, of course. Y'all know the deal. Y'all know the deal. So I'm going to just put my little arrow because I don't have a lot of space there. 4 times 12 plus 10, which should be 58 degrees. And then here, 5 times 12 minus 2. This is what I've been doing the whole time. When I plug it back in, this is how I'm plugging it back in. Anyways, that's still 58 degrees. So now that we know that, we need to figure out what the other angle is. So I'm going to use these 3 angles in this triangle to find angle 2. And angle 2 and angle 1 will also be equal because they're corresponding angles as well. So we got 55 degrees plus 58 degrees, right? Because I'm adding this one and this one together. And I'm going to have to take that away from 180 to figure out angle 2. So 180 minus 55 plus 58. And that's going to equal 67 degrees. So the measure of angle 1 is 67 degrees, and also angle 2, because they are corresponding, they should be equal to each other.